I live in an RV, a recreational vehicle that has a chapel in the back. It's a house on wheels. You can either drive it, a motorhome, or you can pull it with a truck. And I live in a trailer, which is pulled by a truck. And people in the United States, it's something that isn't as expensive as it might be in other countries, because people having lost their homes, they can pull together a couple of $1,000s and get a small RV and try to start over again and get on their feet. So I am in an RV park where there are 100 spaces, and 52 of those spaces are there long term, going through some sort of life crises, transitional space in their life. They may have lost their home due to foreclosure, so you would have a family with a mom and a dad and 3 kids, a dog and a cat, that has come from a 5-bedroom house into a 27-foot RV. So there's a lot of tension there. And also you might find there are migrant workers that come in to work the oil fields or road work. There are people that are there struggling with alcohol and substance abuse, people going through divorce, people that need to be near the hospital going through some sort of treatment for their illness. There are also people that come in that they need to be close to their parent to help them transition into an elder care living situation. It's really an all across the board situation of a microcosm of society that is all right there in like a big parking lot. And I am there to try to offer hope, to try to re-engage conversation with the individual and the need for Jesus. A lot of people there are mad at God because of the situation that they're in. I want them to be seen, that I can look into their eyes and offer that someone sees them, and that I want to hear their story, and I want to walk with them into a new life through this transition. And that's what I want as well for the community there, is to create a transparent community that we can all come alongside each other. One person might be struggling and we can come alongside each other and say, you can do this, and we will do it together. And that's what I love about my ministry. It's offering dignity, it's offering hope in Jesus, it's offering new life in Jesus Christ.
I'll get that for you.
You alright? Okay. You're not supposed to walk on the mat.
How I ended up doing this? Well, I learned how to completely surrender what I think my life should be. My final year in seminary, I kept praying. I knew I was not called to a traditional church pastoral role. I knew I was called to something different. My final year in seminary, I was praying, Lord, okay, what do you want me to be doing here? And as I was praying and crying out, and as the graduation date was getting closer, I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to be doing? And I saw a white RV with the chapel in the back, and I thought, that is ingenious, and I could have never ever thought this up. And I'm pretty creative, but I could have never ever thought this up. And that's where life begins, is if we find what God's plan for us is and get in sync with that, that's where fullness of life is. And I remember when I saw the vision of the white RV with the chapel in the back, I'm like, well, I guess I need to go RV shopping. I don't know anything about RVs. So I got online and looked at chatting communities and went to a dealership. And as it turned out, I researched and talked with a lot of people for a good 6 months. And as I went to the dealership, this was March, and I was getting ready to graduate in June, and I was talking with the guy there, and everything that I thought I needed, they had it there in an RV that they were selling for basically nothing because it was an older model. And this is perfect. I said, well, but I don't graduate in June, and the earliest I could get it would be in July. we'll store it for you. Oh, that's lovely. And, you know, financing, I don't have any, you know, 0% financing. I mean, everything I thought I needed was being handed to me on a silver platter. And I said, I need to pray about this. So I stepped aside, give you about 10 minutes, great. So I step aside and I'm praying and I hear no. And so it ended up that he said, okay, gave me his number. And as I was getting in the car, I said, would you mind to write down a couple of RV parks so that I could maybe go see where I might be living? He writes them down and I get in the car and I'm driving and I see one RV park as I'm driving and it wasn't on the list. I'm like, it's not on the list. So I'm looking for these and I couldn't find these for anything. My GPS wouldn't work. It was just the most bizarre thing and it was getting dark. So I'm like, I'll just turn around and go back to that one I saw. So I go there and I park and I walk into the RV park office and there was a girl in there wearing a cross. And I said, you're a Christian? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to pray for me. I feel like I'm going to go to seminary. I'm going to be a pastor. I feel called to some RV ministry. And she's like, hold on just one second. And she goes and gets her husband. And he comes over. You're called to the pastor? Yes. RV ministry? Yes. It's like, you're not going to believe this, but my wife and I, we've been praying for months, feeling like some sort of ministry needs to be started here, but we don't know what to do. Do you think you would want to come here? I said, wow, you're so amazing. I said, I think we need to discuss this. This sounds very likely, or God is up to something here. And this is so great. He says, and don't go to some dealer to buy your RV. I'm like, okay, why? And he said, because I'm a dealer and I can get you into the manufacturer's plant. You can design whatever you want and they'll charge you just over cost. I was stunned. We have a Father in heaven that cares about every desire and detail of our lives and our hearts. And I could have just been in any old RV, the older model, but God was like, no, I want you to have this. And it was such a gift and a reminder of who my Heavenly Father is and what Jesus died for, so that I can live into who I'm created to be and share the gospel message in this unique way. And that's who I am. The first year was extremely challenging, and there's a hitch on the front of my RV that connects to a truck to be pulled. And I'm running around and I raise up, I hit my head on the hitch, I'm knocked out, blacked out on the ground, and they're watching. And then there was a windstorm a few months later and I get, smashed into the side of the RV, it punctured the top of my head, I had blood coming down my face, and they're watching. Then the transmission on my car goes out and they're watching. And then after a while, there was a man and woman that came up to me that lived in the park, and they just, we want to know how you're doing. We see you're the crazy woman here trying to talk to us, and we're starting to feel sorry for you. So we thought we would come up and introduce ourselves and listen to what you have to say. We have to be invited into and have the credibility to say that I will persevere because Jesus Christ has called me here with a message. And through that, I also need to show that I can persevere and offer that to stand with others as they need to persevere. And that's what's drawn us together into community. Saturday mornings I have a group that gets together and it's called Straight Talk. And I have little cards different emotions: shame, sadness, hopeless despair, anger, disgust, and I put them in this basket and everybody passes it around and they pick out the emotion that most matches what they're feeling for that week. Well, last week everyone picked anger. Anger, loss of control, rage, and we had a discussion on what it's like to have that emotion. I was able to share with people that the emotion isn't bad. Emotion isn't sin. It's what we do with it that has the repercussions. And So we talked about, let's think of characters in the Bible that had anger and the humanness of that. And then we discovered with Moses and John the Baptist and poor Joseph, he probably really had anger even though he didn't talk about it. And as people were bringing up the different characters of the Bible with anger, they would tell the story, and for people that may not know that story. We find people in community that we can invite into our lives to be that transparent, vulnerable person so that they know us well enough to whenever we're getting to make that wrong turn, that they will grab us and pray before there's serious consequences by our acting off of the emotion. And that seemed to be, it seemed to really land with people, and since then they have been more opening up and transparent because they're finding that there's no judgment, that we're all real people, even me, and that we're in it together. We're in this life together. I leave my chapel door open, and it's about the power of presence. It's about the power of just being there and available. With this type of ministry, you can't go up to people in crisis, and if they want to talk, you say, well, are you available next Tuesday at 5 o'clock? No, it's all in the moment and coming alongside and locking arms and encouraging them through this and helping them. That if we confess our sin, that by Jesus' blood we are cleansed and righteous in Him. It can be very challenging. That's why a person needs to trust their call. Because anytime that I have a challenge or I feel distraught, I think back to seeing the white RV with the chapel in the back and how God brought me along to this RV park that these people had been praying. And when I think of that, I think I am called to be here. And I think the most important thing that I've learned that I would share with all other pioneers is my job is to be faithful and obedient to what God has called me to do and to leave the results up to Him. Fresh Expressions is, I believe, is the way of the future that Jesus will go into the community, into people's lives, and really make a difference.